Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Tang Jie's face was filled with viciousness as he said with killing intent, "Leave that Li Yunxiao to me. I'll cut him into pieces with my own hands." The vermilion bird saber appeared in his hand, and the fiery red saber chi jumped and flashed. It stepped down on the chessboard step by step, and its aura kept rising, ready to explode at any time. "How dare you provoke me and go against me at every turn? I am the eldest young master of the Tang family of the Four Extremes sect. Those who go against me never have a good ending. Today, I will give you an unforgettable lesson." Tang Jia circulated his vital qi to its peak and poured it into the vermilion bird saber. The weapon spirit also sensed it and gave out a cheerful hum, as if it was eager to drink blood. Great void slash through everything. He roared and raised his saber high, then suddenly slashed down. The entire space suddenly fell silent. When Tang Jia's saber struck just now, only a ray of light appeared on the blade and then disappeared. There was no saber light or primordial qi, and there was no change in the space, as if he had deliberately done it. This buy-in. Everyone's pupils contracted in shock. Could it be that this space also had a restriction on vital qi? Tang Jia slashed a few more times with all his might, but there was no reaction. No matter how abundant the yuan qi in his body was, he could not release it. Yi Fan also tried to send out a few punches, but he was also restricted, they were ordinary and had no power. His origin power is suppressed as expected. Overjoyed, Yunxiao laughed wildly and said, "Tang Jia, aren't you very good at this? Chop me, come and chop me." A vicious look appeared on his face as he sneered and strode forward. He clenched his fingers tightly, making a crackling sound. "Humph." Tang Jia was startled and coldly snorted, "Since you've suppressed your origin energy, do you still want to hit me? I'm going to cut you down, what can you do? Hit me, hit me, hit me." He held the vermilion bird saber in his hand and started to provoke the other party crazily. His eyes were filled with contempt. Bang. Yunxiao stomped on the ground and shot out like a cannonball. Suddenly, he threw a punch so fast that it was hard for the eyes to catch it. He saw Tang Jia being hit by the punch, and a terrible line of blood shot out like a fountain. Like a kite with a broken string, his body drifted away. Yunxiao's faint voice rang out, "It's good. My strength isn't suppressed." As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd saw drops of blood dripping from his fist. The big demon's hearts suddenly tightened. When Tang Jia was sent flying, an armor on his body automatically appeared to protect him, but his defense was still destroyed by the wind from Yunxiao's fist, and he was seriously injured. With just the strength of his physical body, he actually dared to destroy the defense of the battle armor with one punch. All the great demons' hearts tightened. This kind of fist force strength was something that very few of them from the demon clan could achieve. Only those demons who specialized in cultivating their physical bodies could use their bodies as weapons and break the enemy's armor. "I can't let him die." Sheng's face darkened as he looked at Tang Jia, who had collapsed in the distance. "Be careful, Li." The sound of "you" rang out as his taillight sword flew out of his hand and was thrown at Yunxiao at an extremely fast speed, like a dagger. He himself let out a loud roar and his entire body swelled up, revealing his powerful physical body. He also leaped up and charged forward while roaring. In terms of the strength of his physical body, he was no weaker than Yunxiao, and after forming the ancestral bloodline, he was far stronger than the latter. This strange space actually suppressed essence force, so he could only fight with his physical body. Whoosh. Although the taillight sword was sharp, it was just an ordinary weapon after its weapon charm was suppressed. With a sneer, Yunxiao grabbed it with his palm. His mighty body had been cultivated to the peak, and no weapon in the world could hurt it. So, he grabbed the sword in his hand and laughed. Thank you for your sword. It feels pretty good." Yunxiao grabbed the taillight sword and thrust it at the incoming Yu with great enthusiasm. Although there were no sword gleams or primordial qi, Yunxiao's sword intent was far superior to these people. The seemingly ordinary strike seemed to cover all the acupuncture points in Yu's body, making it impossible to avoid. Yu was taken aback. This Li Yunxiao was indeed an abnormal monster, and he could not stay here any longer today. Sacred skill. In the distance, Yifan was shocked. He shouted in joy, so sacred skills can still be used. What Yunxiao used was the law condensation technique of the Hall of Holy Fire. Although Yuan Qi could not be used here, the law of heaven and earth was a higher existence than pure power. After he used Yi Nanshan's secret technique, every move still contained a certain law, so Yu's pure physical defense was as easy as flipping his hand. Yi Fan was overjoyed. Since sacred skills can be used, everyone, let's attack together. Kill all these monsters. He shouted as he took out a sword and rushed forward. Ever since they entered the demon land, the people of the Temple of Holy Fire had always felt extremely vexed. They could not help in all kinds of battles, big or small. At most, they could only be substitutes. They had long been holding a breath of grievance in their hearts. Now that they discovered that their sect's sacred skill was shining brightly, and that it could still be used under the situation where everyone's power was suppressed, gathering the power of the heavens and earth, all of them were so excited that their blood boiled. Their morale was suddenly high, and they rushed forward with a roar. Each of them performed the same strange action, and in an instant, a strange power began to flow. Sheng and the others looked serious. They were no strangers to the power of rules, but they did not understand how these zant-like existences could condense rules. The only consolation was that the rule force was extremely weak. If it was under normal circumstances, they would be able to break it with a casual move, but at this moment, the monastic robe had become a fatal advantage. On the grid line of the entire chessboard, everyone was in a mess and fighting each other. At this moment, two unfamiliar figures suddenly appeared in the space without a sound. However, the terrifying aura from their bodies suddenly pressed down on everyone's hearts, causing them to stop in their tracks. The other two also appeared out of nowhere. They seemed to be very surprised, looking at everything with astonishment. Zhang Xiaotian's face changed and he cried out, "People from the Myriad Stars Valley." They were Che Shuyao and Feng Yi. As soon as they entered the space, everyone was alerted and stopped fighting. The aura on these two people made everyone feel a kind of terrifying feeling, and they didn't even dare to look at them directly. Zhang Xiaotian was covered in cold sweat. He was afraid that the two would suddenly kill him. He quickly recalled his soul slave. As the two superpowers of the Western region, Myriad Stars Valley and the Soul Devourer clan coexisted peacefully on the surface. However, they had been fighting in secret for many years. They had killed countless disciples of the other party, but they controlled it in the dark to avoid large-scale conflicts that no one could bear. So many pieces of trash are here? Che Xuyao's eyes were cold as he looked around. His gaze lingered on Zhang Xiaotian and his junior brother for a few seconds, making the two shiver. Except for Nguduangyu, everyone seems to be here. Feng Yi looked around and asked suspiciously, "What's with this space? I feel like there's some sort of restriction that's suppressing our origin energy." Oh. Che Xuyao's expression changed and he said in a serious tone, "That's right, it's being suppressed. However, the power of regulation is still present, and it can be condensed." Feng Yi said, "The power of laws is the power of this world. As long as it exists in this world, it will exist. No array formation can suppress the laws of heaven and earth." He looked down with an arrogant expression and said proudly, "Do you know what this place is?" Everyone's faces were solemn and silent. No one made a sound. All of a sudden, the entire space began to change, and everyone's hearts trembled. The grid lines on the chessboard emitted a bright green light, and stars began to appear in the sky, as if they were in the universe. The stars grew brighter and brighter, slowly approaching from far away, and actually falling towards the chessboard. Everyone was shocked. The two martial sovereigns from the 10,000 Stars Valley had an even uglier expression. They suddenly realized that they were completely bound, and they couldn't even condense the rules of heaven and earth. The entire chessboard was filled with a strange power that made them unable to resist at all. The stars falling from the sky were getting closer and closer. At this time, they were shocked to find that they were not stars, but chess pieces. The chess pieces were black and white in color, falling like stars. Every piece fell on the grid line of the chessboard, shaking out the power of the stars. The entire chessboard was like a vast starry sky, and everyone felt as if they were in the Milky Way of the universe. At this moment, only a wisp of consciousness was left, and they were so dizzy that they didn't know what to think. Soon, the sky returned to darkness, and hundreds of black and white chess pieces of various sizes appeared on the glowing chessboard, arranged in a certain pattern. At this moment, everyone realized that they were surrounded by a green light, slowly rising into the sky and floating in the air. They could not use any strength. Even Che Shuyao and Feng Yi were the same. This Go arrangement is a kasaya. Tang Jia, who had been knocked out by Yunxiao's punch, woke up and looked at the chess game below. The Heaven and Earth chessboard. The Heaven and Earth chess game set up by the throne. Everyone looked down in surprise. Many of them had never seen the Heaven and Earth chessboard before, but at least they had heard of it. This was because as long as one could solve this chess game, they would be accepted as a disciple by the king-level master and learn the 800 formations. As the eldest young master of the Tang family, Tang Jia had long been connected to various chess masters, but he had not found anything after studying them for a long time. Yunxiao's eyes were also filled with surprise. He was quite proficient in arrays, and the chess game below him was strange. It seemed that he could strike at any point, but at the same time, he could not strike at any point. Why haven't I heard him mention this Go arrangement before? Could it be something new? Yunxiao frowned and thought hard, only to find that his divine sense had fallen into it. He suddenly came back to his senses and broke out in a cold sweat. At this moment, everyone's body slowly fell to the ground. There were a total of 20 nodes on the chessboard that emitted a bright light, which was where they had landed. They were divided into black and white formations. Yunxiao, the 2 soul devourers, and the 7 from the Temple of Holy Fire made 10 people in total. On the other side, the 4 great demons, Tang Jia, Shen Feng, Che Shuyao, Feng Yi, Yuan Sun, and the 9-winged spirit serpent bird were also enveloped by 10 rays of light and descended. Furthermore, Yuan Sun had actually woken up at this moment, his eyes filled with extreme confusion. This is a chess piece. Yunxiao was horrified. He found that where the 20 people had fallen were the 20 most powerful formation eyes, which connected the entire chess game and the entire formation. Any mistake of any one of them could lead to an earth-shaking change in the entire chess game. Don't move. After Yunxiao's move, they represented the white pieces. Afraid that someone would make a rash move, he suddenly shouted. On the other side, the 10 people didn't dare to move after they landed. Che Shuyao tried to gather his rule force and found that he couldn't sense anything. At this moment, he was no different from an ordinary person, which made him feel extremely insecure. Big brother Yunxiao, what's going on? Even though Yi Fan did not understand the chess game, he could feel that the chess pieces were not normal. When they were linked together, they gave off a shocking aura. It was as if any small change would cause them to turn into dust. Don't move, everyone, Yunxiao said. I don't know the situation here, but I'm sure that if we take one step forward and cause the game to change, we'll all be dead.